Good girl. We've all heard that phrase before. Maybe it was said to a toddler who just mastered a new skill, or a dog who just learned a new trick. Or, if you're like me, maybe it was said to you during a job interview. I had picked out my best outfit, the cutest shoes, Google stalks my potential employer. For all the prep work I'd done, you'd think I was going on a blind date. But no, I hadn't just swiped right on Tinder. Instead, I was going on a blind job interview where the only blind party was me. When I arrived, the interviewer showed me to a chair, and when I found it and sat down, she said, "Good girl." Right then, I wished I was on a blind date. Check, please. I didn't get a call back. According to the National Federation for the Blind, only 28% of blind Americans are employed full-time. But let's remove the word blind. What if I stood up here and told you that only 28% of Americans were employed full-time? Alarm bells would be ringing. There would be protests. The stock market would crash. Politicians would be falling all over themselves to fix it. Most people dream of becoming a member of the 1%. And me? I'm just lucky to be a member of the 28% of employed blind Americans. When you're job hunting blind, you have two options. Either disclose your blindness up front and not get the interview, or let the interviewer figure it out when you get there. Like, hey, surprise! I'm blind. And then never get a call back. Not much of a choice, is it? What a shame, the employer might say. She didn't sound blind on the phone. Blind people live in a world that is not designed with us in mind. But does that make us bad employees? We are creative problem solvers. If blind people have to think outside the box to accomplish normal tasks like buying groceries, matching outfits, or crossing the street without looking both ways, imagine what we can do as employees. As Liz Jackson, a disability design advocate, said, people with disabilities are the original life hackers. Ever pinned your socks together so you wouldn't lose one? Blind hack. Used cruise control? Blind hack. Yeah, that's right, a blind guy invented cruise control. Yes. Ralph Teeter, a blind mechanical engineer, invented cruise control because, according to family lore, his friend, patent attorney, and frequent driver had a jerky accelerator foot. When thinking outside the box becomes ordinary, something extraordinary is born. Now, I'm no CEO, but aren't those the kind of employees you should want working for your company? Unfortunately, not everyone sees it that way. When employers realize I'm blind, I go from potential assets to potential liability. Can she even do this job? They see blind and they see incompetent. They don't see me. And it's not just employers either. Blindness makes people uncomfortable. I am willing to bet that most of you won't even say the B word out loud. I can't tell you how many times when traveling with a sighted companion, I've had them ask someone, is she, blind? By the way, I can hear that, just for the record, in case you're confused. In one fell swoop, they take away my autonomy. They can't deal with my blindness, so they don't deal with me at all. But what if I could cure my blindness? Most days, I am content with who I am. Being blind has made me creative and inclusive. It has taught me the value of perseverance and given me opportunities, friendships, and relationships I may never have had otherwise. Oh, and I can read and do my makeup in the dark, so if we ever suffer a global blackout, I'm your girl. Most days, I don't want to be cured. I don't want to be fixed because I am not broken. But sometimes I do. When my computer freezes and I can't read the screen to fix it. When I spend 2 hours on public transportation getting home from work, a 20-minute drive by car. When a guy I like tells me I'm cute for a blind girl. When I'm tired of struggling, tired of explaining how I do the simplest things over and over and over again, tired of being your inspiration porn or the object of your pity party. But it's always been just a thought. Because a life spent dwelling on what you can't have isn't much of a life, and gaining sight was never within the realm of possibility for me. Until one day, it was. Scrolling through my Facebook feed, I came across a CBS News article about Luxturna. It's an FDA-approved gene therapy designed to give usable sight to people with retinal diseases for the low price of $450,000 per eye. But one of the diseases on the list, Leber's congenital amaurosis, also known as the reason I'm blind. That had never happened before. None of the groundbreaking blindness research had ever applied to me. One line from the article from Misty Lovelace, a Luxturna recipient, caught my attention. She said, "One of the best things I've ever seen since the surgery are the stars." Now, I've lived my entire life without seeing the stars and been completely fine. But suddenly, for 1 second, I wanted to see them. Wanted it with an ache so powerful it stole the breath from my lungs. A second. Less time than it takes a notification to scroll across your phone screen. But that 1 second threatened to change everything. When I started telling people about this potential cure, a funny thing happened. They all instantly said the same thing. Get it. If you have the opportunity, they said, you do it. It was black and white for them. In fact, maybe that's what you're thinking right now, too. Being sighted would certainly make my life easier, so why wouldn't I do it? But me, I had questions. Questions I'd never asked myself because I never had to. I've always been this loud and proud blind girl, so what did it mean that even just for a second, I seriously considered trading that in? Blindness is not my identity, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a major part of who I am. If you eliminated that, then who would I be? Would I change completely? Would pulling that one thread be enough to make the whole sweater, the tapestry of my life, unravel? Not to mention the more practical questions like, how would I learn to read again? Would I have to learn to recognize objects by sight the same way a baby does? Wait. Okay, I thought this was supposed to be easier. We have training for people who lose their sight, but what training do we have for those who suddenly gain it? And what if I hate being sighted? Imagine living your whole life in black and white, and then suddenly, one day, bam! HD full color. What if I get overwhelmed? It's not like I can exactly turn it off once I get sight. I could imagine that customer service phone call. Hi, yes, I just recently purchased sight from your company for about $900,000. Yeah, I was actually wondering if the warranty was still valid. I've decided I'm not satisfied with the product after all, and I'd like to return it for a full refund, please. Hello? Finally, what about the big picture? What does eliminating blindness mean for the world? Well, it means a whole lot more of you sighted people running around, obviously. But would we never have another Homer? Stevie Wonder? Helen Keller? If Homer had been able to see, would he have found it necessary to describe mythological creatures in such vivid detail? If those three accomplished individuals hadn't dealt with the challenges of blindness, would they have become the creators and innovators they turned out to be? If blindness were eliminated before I was born, would there even be a me? I was hired by my current employer during a hiring freeze through a program designed to employ more blind people within the organization. And everyone I worked with knew it. Most of them didn't care, but I did. I worried that if I screwed up even just one thing, people would realize that I didn't belong and that they were right about blind people after all. I mean, I was literally hired because I'm blind. And for a long time, I was ashamed of that. Ashamed of the fact that I had to resort to a blindness program to get a job. Me, who had done everything the way you're, quote, supposed to. Worked hard, got good grades, finished college. Before I graduated, I thought that if I could just be smart enough, or witty enough, or likable enough, I wouldn't have to face the struggles that other blind people were facing. I thought I was the exception to the rule. I wasn't. Because as I quickly realized, it wasn't about how smart or funny or likable I am. It was about other people's perceptions of me. About the tendency to confuse difference with wrong and blinds with incompetent. Now, I tell everyone who will listen that my employer hired me because I'm blind, not despite it. Because you know what? I'm starting to think they have the right idea. The truth is, Everybody struggles. But no one tells short people who can't reach the top shelf that they need to stretch themselves taller. Instead, they get stepladders. No one tells women that to make our lives easier, we should, probably just all go ahead and become men. Instead, we continue to fight for equality every day. So why then is it acceptable to tell blind people that if the opportunity arises, we should all just become sighted? Why isn't blindness embraced, accommodated for, as just one of the many things that makes us unique? I'm not saying staying blind is the answer for everyone, nor that we should stop looking for cures. I'm well aware of my blind privilege, if you will, that growing up in the United States has afforded me chances that some blind people will never have. But despite living in a world where my blindness makes me less than, I don't want to change it. Maybe being sighted would make my life easier, but easier isn't always better. I shouldn't have to remold myself to fit someone else's definition of success. I don't want to change for the world. I want the world to change for me, for all blind people, so that we in turn can continue leaving our mark on the world. Because vision doesn't require sight. Thank you.